Good afternoon. My name is Richard Smith, and today we are going to talk about the quality of character of being prepared and preparedness. I'm going to draw heavily on two books. One by Coach Brown, which is teaching character through sport and establishing a positive coaching legacy, and the second being A Season of Life by Mr. Jeffrey Marks, A Football Star, A Boy, A Journey to Manhood. In Coach Brown's book, he starts out by quoting the poet James Russell Lowell. He says, "A great man is made up of qualities that meet or make great occasions." Qualities that meet or make great occasions. And I'm defining one of those as being prepared. And the definition that I have come up with after studying and reading and throughout this course is that being prepared is the ability to plan, strategize, and organize effectively your efforts for success in a given endeavor. And in this case, obviously, we're talking about coaching and mentoring. I would, before starting, like to say a little bit about myself and the prism that I'm teaching through. I am 16 years in law enforcement. I also have over 20 years of coaching. I was a high school swim coach before going into law enforcement, and elementary school PE teacher, all those wonderful things, and I was a missionary before that. So everything I've done up until this point has kind of been with a mind to do the greatest amount of good that I could. And so I appreciate the topics that have been covered in this course and how they've done it. And so we're going to go from spiritual to the physical or worldly application in a career or in a mentorship to a coaching application. And that's kind of how this presentation is laid out. So to start out, I'd like to share a scripture from Ephesians, from the New Testament, talking about how God is prepared and planned, and in turn what he expects of us. So it says, "For we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand so that we would walk in them." So God prepared all of these things for us, so that we would know what to do and where to go also. And so should we not mirror that character of being prepared? I don't think that there's a better story in the scriptures than the parable of the 10 virgins in demonstrating the importance of being prepared and planning. In the New Testament, in Matthew chapter 25, we read about the kingdom of heaven being compared to this wedding feast. And these women who had traveled and were waiting for the wedding feast to come through, and they all had brought lamps. And they were expected to wait with oil in their lamps and ready to be lit. And there were a certain amount of women that the Bible talks about being foolish, that failed to bring oil in their lamps. And while they were off buying oil in the moment, those women who had come prepared, who were wise, they were there when the bridegroom came through. They joined the wedding party, and they were at the wedding feast, and these other women came back, missed it, went and knocked on the door of the wedding, and were ultimately heartbreakingly told, "Verily I say unto you, I know you not." Now, the foolish virgins were no more desirous in attending the wedding feast than the wise ones, but they failed to plan past the act of just bringing the lamp. Furthermore, they were satisfied with basically just showing up and hoping for success. They hadn't planned for success. Their ultimate failure in being faithful to the bridegroom was due to a lack of preparation. So I think in moving on to the worldly application and the three benefits that I've outlined of preparedness, I'd like us to remember that for success we need to prepare. So the first one is being prepared gives us confidence to know how to proceed in any situation. Second, being prepared is an integral part of goal setting and goal reaching. Third, being prepared inspires confidence in those we would lead. So on the first one, I'd like to move to a slide that talks, and as far as giving us confidence to know how to proceed in any situation. I'd like to refer back to my time when I was deployed overseas in Afghanistan. We were in a mentoring capacity, and every time that we left the base, we had to plan everything that we did. We had to plan our routes, our destinations, the goals of our movements. We had to plan inventory and take sufficient supplies to reach our destination. We planned by discussing our primary objectives and outcomes, and we also planned for any contingencies of what might happen to us out there on the road. and our lives depended on it. Now, in a coaching application, I think it's pretty clear that once we've prepared for a moment, when we're actually in the heat of competition, it's not a stranger to us because we've already been there. We've already planned for it, prepared for it. And I love Muhammad Ali's quote from about being prepared and training. He said, the fight is won or lost far away from the witnesses, behind the lines in the gym and out there on the road, long before I dance under those lights. So long before we are in competition, we need to be planning and preparing how we're going to go about it. The second benefit of being prepared is that it's an integral part of goal setting and goal reaching. So to arrive at a place you want to be, you have to have a vision first of how to get there, where you want to be, how we're going to get there. Once you have that vision and set the goal, you have to formulate a plan of action, and you can't undertake that journey unless you have prepared every needful thing that you're going to need to be effective. Nobody would set across the ocean in open water without first making sure that you had radios, supplies, food, and all of your navigation charts, and being knowledgeable of where you were going and how to get there. In coaching application, I like to refer to Season of Life, a coach that was mentioned, Bill Poggi. He coached the Gilman High School football team whose season was outlined in this, and he judged the success of a season based on his wins and losses, and also based on the amount of ministry that the coaches had done with their players. Again, their mantra was, coaches or players, what do you expect out of us? For you to love us, and what do we expect of you? For you to love each other. Okay, that doesn't just happen. That culture doesn't just happen like magic. You have to plan for it. You have to prepare for it. Bill Poggi, as the Gilman High School football coach, for 19 years, won 13 state titles. That is phenomenal. That is all-time phenomenal. And he was 135 and 43 in 19 years. The number 3 benefit of being prepared is that it inspires confidence in those that we would lead. As a fourth-generation Scottish immigrant, I always look towards William Wallace, Robert the Bruce, and that time period. And there was a movie that was made that was a little bit exaggerative, but it outlines what being prepared, the role of that in inspiring others. So we're going to take 2 minutes, it's about a 2.5 minute clip, and we're going to see this before the Battle of Stirling, and then we'll talk about it.
The Almighty says this must be a fashionable fight. It's drawn the finest people. Where is thy salute?
For presenting yourselves on this battlefield, I give you thanks.
This is our army. To join it, you give homage.
I give homage to Scotland. And if this is your army, why does it go?
We didn't come here to fight for them.
Oh, the English are too many.
Sons of Scotland, I am William Wallace.
William Wallace is 7 feet tall.
Yes, I've heard. He kills men by the hundred. And if he were here, he'd consume the English with fireballs from his eyes and bolts of lightning from his arse. I am William Wallace. And I see a whole army of my countrymen here in defiance of tyranny. You've come to fight as free men. And free men you are. What will you do with that freedom? Will you fight?
Right? Against that? No! We will run!
And we will live. Aye. Fight and you may die. Run and you'll live. At least a while. And dying in your beds many years from now, would you be willing to trade all the days from this day to that for one chance, just one chance, to come back here and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take Oh, freedom!
All right, so that was before the Battle of Stirling, and as you can see up here, the Battle of Stirling was the first major victory for the Scots, and it pitted English heavy cavalry against poorly equipped Scotsmen, similar to those that you see in the video. But the reason why that battle was won or lost was because William Wallace had come up with a strategy, and those same noblemen that talked about giving tribute had lost battles before. This was the first major victory for the Scots in this war, and what had happened was William Wallace came up with an idea against English heavy cavalry that hadn't been tried before. And it was in those large pikes that he would use that foot soldiers could attack and battle with cavalry. And William Wallace used his words, his inspiration, everything, but he prepared to win. And it was because of his preparation that you could see that his men wanted to follow him to that victory. And of course, in a coaching application, we go back to Coach Brown. And he talked about how confidence in athletes comes from being prepared, okay? And that successful coaches are prepared and organized, number one. Number two, they have the ability to teach athletes how to prepare and then to trace all of their success in competition back to that preparation. So if that confidence in our athletes comes from being prepared, we as coaches have to prepare, and we have to teach them how to prepare, and we have to teach them the connections of being prepared to ultimate success in a given field or court. So to recapsulate what we're talking about here, the three benefits of being prepared. Gives us the confidence to know how to proceed in any situation. It's an integral part of goal setting and goal reaching, and also it inspires confidence in those we would lead. I'd like to close with a quote, there's just a couple more slides here, by Paul Bear Bryant. And he said that it's not the will to win that matters. Everyone wants that. It's the will to prepare to win that matters. It's the will to prepare to win that matters. And I'd like to go and just to the next slide is everybody that I'd like to thank and the resources that I've drawn from for this presentation. But the last slide is a championship slide from my coaching career that I've coached all of these young men for years, and it means a lot to me in summing up that being prepared, preparedness, again, is having the ability to plan, strategize, and organize effectively for success in a given endeavor. Thank you for your time.